Hello there and welcome to my reaction to The Fallout Show is Unbelievably Good by Actman. I don't think there's a reason for me to record this, especially after 12 days since the original video was released, but I did watch the show and I do agree with it being unbelievably good, even though there are some moments that aren't great. I think there are moments that are great. And overall, gaming people who are into gaming adaptations are eating good. Like the Last of Us show was great as well. Anyway, as normal with the Ackman videos, this is a reaction discussion, so let's hear what he has to say, and maybe I will agree or disagree.
When it comes to video game
Maybe.
television adaptations, how they turn out can often feel like Lady Luck flipping a coin.
Okay, Betty.
Made your last delivery, kid.
Arcane, Edge Runners, The Last of Us, all landed on heads. And then you have...
Oh my goodness!
And of course there's the fiasco
Oh,
of
yeah.
Henry Cavill leaving the
I only
Witcher show.
Okay, people who are into gaming adaptations eat good sometimes. I completely blocked that out of my memory. Witcher was on my screen because it was the first frame of this video, and I did not remember it existed. God damn it.
When I
Alright.
heard that there was a Fallout TV
Fine.
series in production, well, I was a little skeptical. But those skepticisms were laid to rest, and the only thing I could say
Just
was...
louder.
What in the goddamn?
I expected the Fallout TV series to be average at best, but it is unbelievably good.
You want to make my cock
It's
explode
the
now?
title.
The Fallout show was produced by Jonathan Nolan, brother of Christopher Nolan, and if you
Oh.
know these guys, you know that they rarely miss. The TV show has
I don't know what-
renewed interest in the other Fallout games as well.
Yeah,
causing
I
a
heard that.
recent sur-
I actually, well, I know of Christopher Nolan, obviously, but I don't know if I watched anything by his brother.
Nolan, brother of Chris.
You want to make my cock explode now?
The Fallout show was produced by Jonathan Nolan,
Jonathan,
brother
okay.
of
I
Christopher
didn't wanna
Nolan, and if you
say
know
the
these
wrong name.
guys, you know that they rarely miss.
Okay,
the
let's go
TV
back to
show
it.
has renewed interest in the other Fallout games as well, causing a recent surge in their player counts. Likely because the show reminds people what they love about Fallout.
I have an idea. What if,
And they made Bethesda release a patch that breaks everything, and now Fallout London is nowhere to be seen, even though it was supposed to come out a week ago. Anyway, I'm just a little bit salty about that.
what if I were to do like a thumbs up?
So this video is
Jesus.
going to be mostly
He's
spoiler-free.
barely
but if there is
hearable, but
something
everything
I
else is so
want you to
loud.
experience in the show yourself, then I'll put something up on screen. This video has no sponsor because it's sponsored by me.
Cringe!
And my public Discord server, the Act Clan, which you should join right now. It's a great place to talk about games, shoot the shit, and just have a good time.
Or
We
join
also
my
have a
Discord
channel where you
server
can
for
post
no
fan
reason.
edits. And you know what? This place is cursed. I'm actually going to delete it. The show follows a trio of main characters. Lucy, a
I'm not
member of
showing you
Vault
what in
33
my
who goes
Discord.
into the wasteland to rescue her dad.
YouTube
the
wouldn't
Ghoul,
like it,
aka
probably.
Cooper, a former movie star turned bounty hunter, and Maximus, a member of the Brotherhood of Steel,
turned
who
ghoul,
has
too.
aspirations of becoming a knight. Now, I'm going to assume you're familiar with the premise of Fallout. Nuclear warfare threatens the world. Company named Vault-Tec is contracted by the government to create
I mean,
Fallout
it's
shelters,
shown in the
aka
first episode
vaults.
what happens.
Nuclear war does break out in 2077. Hundreds
Yeah.
of years pass. Well, let's open the vaults and see what the world is like.
219
What the
years.
fuck is that? The Fallout universe is expansive indeed.
Hey, it's the
I mean,
master.
these are RPGs
Fallout
you can
1.
play for thousands of hours. There's 27 years.
And yeah, maybe I should say this, maybe it doesn't matter. I've played every Fallout game. I've beaten all of them except Fallout Tactics. I really dislike how it played. Like, from my memory, I played it for like 20 minutes. I dislike how it plays because I played it right after 2. And I never tried it again. And I only played a couple of hours of Fallout 76. Like a year after it came out, so some bugs were fixed, but I still encountered quite a few bugs. And it was free weekend, I didn't buy the game.
Years worth of lore and backstory to
But
tap
everything
into.
else is good.
So translating that to the big screen was probably the
Also, I'm gonna say this. And then maybe some people will hate me for this. But I think my favorite Fallout is Fallout 3. It might be some nostalgia because it was the first Fallout game I've played. and it was the first big game I played when I got my own PC. So there is a lot of emotions connected to that game. But it's a subjective opinion of mine. I like it the most.
the hardest thing about making this show, but they've managed to capture the essence of what makes Fallout Fallout. But just like the games, it's not solely about the main objective, it's also about the breadth of side content and side characters. There are tons of quirky, funny people that populate the wasteland,
Yeah.
and they do a great job of illustrating how people have adapted to this new world. I figure we
I think
should
they've
talk
done
about
the world
criticisms
world
and get
building
those
and
out of
stuff
the way,
very
'cause
well.
There's not too many. The biggest and obviously most important critique: Ron Perlman doesn't voice the intro. F in the chat.
You know, I don't know if you know this, but war.
Ron Perlman has been in every Fallout, so it's a little disappointing that he's not here. Regardless, the show still has a fantastic opening sequence. The
I think they did that because they added Howard's character, or the character of Howard, because he said he's like because he's an actor, he records a video in there, advertising walls, and he says it himself. He says war never changes, and that's probably why even Mr. Handys are voiced by a different person than they were in like Fallout 4 and probably other games. And that's because the character that voices them in here appears as well as himself. Well, not as himself, but the actor appears like IRL. That doesn't work. It's a show. Whatever.
show also doesn't go out of its way to explain all of the tech and lore of the universe, so if you're not already familiar with Fallout, some things might be confusing or unclear.
Yeah, but I think
because
you'll
the
get
show
used
is
to
good,
it.
That'll make people curious in the lore, and they'll want to look
Yes.
things up. You know, what are the other vaults like? Some of the fight choreography.
Yeah, I
mostly
feel like people who know Fallout lore will see the show or like will watch like episode 1 and they will see the vault and they would think, as the vault dwellers usually do, that this looks like a paradise from the like a safe haven from the irradiated world and stuff. But people who know Fallout, I don't know what I said at the beginning. People who don't know will see it like that, like I described, and people who know the games immediately would think, what kind of experiment was going on in that vault, and like both would be intrigued by what's happening because one of them would be uncovering it like one of the main characters does, like what's happening in there, and like they would probably relate to that character more than people who already know that there is something going on than people who don't. But people who don't would relate more to the character because that character also doesn't know what's going on and he's uncovering it. And it's kind of like he's more of a main character for that specific well, I guess he is a main character for that storyline, but anyway.
hand-to-hand combat
I
stuff
lost my turn
can
of
look
thought.
a little
thought
soft.
too many
Sometimes
times.
characters are put in really dangerous situations and they just kind of bullshit their way through it. But the biggest
That's
complaint I've been
Fallout.
seeing is about retconning. The history and lore of Fallout is
Yeah,
really
that-
fucking cool. The series has been around since '97, so naturally fans want to protect that. Especially
It's I think that's one of the reasons why every game, except for like 1 and 2, isn't connected, is because they don't. It's not connected, and they also have like a few years in between them, and probably one of the reasons why, so they don't have to retcon everything. And the show goes kind of off the rails with this because it is in the setting. It is in California. It's in southern California, which no game is happening in, but it does have, well, at least one location. From my memory, Shady Sands, I think, is the only location that appears in games and a TV show. Well, appears is a strong word for the TV show, but still. And that is kind of, it's not a retcon for that specifically, but who knows? Depends on the next Fallout game. Maybe there will not be a mention of Shady Sands at all. Maybe there will be a mention of what happened to it the same way what happened to it in the game would be the same as what happened to the show, and that will canonize it more greatly in the lore. I don't know.
Especially since the show has been confirmed as canon, so it needs to line up with the other games. Now, I'm no expert on the lore of Fallout, and typically I'm not one who obsesses over lore in video games and consistent
I think
timelines
Fallout has
and
pretty
all
good
that.
lore,
It's
that's why I
pretty
like it.
easy for me to suspend my disbelief if what I'm watching or playing is amazing, entertaining,
I don't know
and
every
immersive
single
enough.
detail of
But
it,
since the show
but
has been confirmed as
I
canon, this is
enjoy
a
it a
new
lot.
direction for the Fallout series. It could have a huge impact
In a broad
on the
sense, I
next
know
game.
it quite well.
Obviously, people don't want Bethesda to fuck that up. Now, this is my perspective as a Halo fan. If retcons and lore consistency are the biggest complaints people have, that's a good problem to have. The producers of the Halo show created an entirely new timeline just to fuck it up and intentionally ignore the lore of Halo.
I mean, that's the criticism. Sure. I've never seen this criticism of it. No, well, I guess, yeah, people being scared of if they retcon anything because it's canon, if it is like fully canon or it just exists in the canon. I don't know. However, the stupidest criticisms I've seen in Russia, because, well, I'm Russian, so it's easy to see criticisms here. I saw people scream that, oh, one of the main characters is a woman, so they're not gonna watch it, so it's cringe. Or a black guy, and so that's cringe. Stuff like that, like racist, whatever, sexist stuff. It's hilarious to read, but it's also extremely fucking sad. Anyway,
That's how far they wanted to go
so
in
to
the
let
not
that
Halo
out a
direction.
bit.
So often we see adaptions that look and feel nothing like the source material. What I'm trying to say,
Well, this is a bit different. I'm not sure if we've seen a show like Fallout, which is Fallout is already like a big world, right? Of in-game world building throughout games has been relatively consistent, and they build a lot of it. So the show was easily able to just put itself in the world without touching any of the games or like any story of the game. They, of course, like very close to Fallout 1 and 2 in terms of geographically, but they're not there in the story. They didn't take a story of one of the games and just adapted it like Last of Us did. I don't know if Halo tried to do that and that fucked it up. I have no idea about that. Witcher was doing it through the books, and they said fuck it anyway. So Fallout is kind of a unique, at least in recent memory. I don't know. I could be missing something. But it's one of the shows that's not repeating any kind of story. They making their own story, but in a world from games, and they are mostly adapting the world and not adapting the story to like the live action or, well, to the other media that's not games. I don't know. I don't know if any of that made sense.
is that I'm bitter. I'm bitter that you guys have a great show. And that's not to say you can fuck with the lore as much as you want as long as the end product is good. But it's nice to keep things in perspective, you know?
Yeah.
The show is great. It's entertaining. It 100% feels like Fallout.
I
in
honestly
every way.
think that the lore, if you fuck with the lore too much, the show is disqualified from being good. I think if you to make the show good in your eyes as like the producer or the director or whatever, the company itself, like Netflix, Amazon, whoever's making it, if you need to destroy the lore or change a lot of the lore to begin with, I don't think you're gonna make a good product. I feel like when you're adapting something, you're calling upon people who already enjoyed that original thing. Like if you're making a Fallout TV show, most of the people who watch the show would be the fans of the game series. And there, of course, will be people who are new as well. And if you make the show accurate, you will... Well, it's gonna be good in the eyes of people who are new and people who are not new to the lore, to the world. However, if you make extreme lore changes even let's say you did it well and it makes sense in your show or movie or whatever, but it's not the same as game. Like it's not the same as it was in games. People who are new might still enjoy your show and maybe rate it well and stuff, but people who are not, and I think there will be a majority of people who already know what's going on, they will not like it, and that will tank the ratings of your show and the amount of people who will watch the show at all. Yeah.
And that's what makes the Fallout TV series so awesome. Its identity and tone.
Goosey McLean.
Oh, no, it's Lucy.
Yeah, I've seen people's critique of...
Nope. It says Goosey.
Fallout is part post-apocalyptic.
Goddamn, I'm pausing a lot, but it is a discussion more than a reaction. So, I've seen the critique of people saying that the show is showing post-apocalyptic world as, like, in a very joking manner. But it's like, even Fallout 1 had kind of like sarcastic humor, maybe sometimes dark and stuff, but there was a lot of humor in the very first game. It's very satirical on like the world and stuff. It's built on 1950s America after all, or like before the bombs fell. So I don't get that point at all. It's also, if you look at the show and you think, oh, the world ended, right? And how are they laughing and stuff? For these people, it's been 219 years in the case of this. Like, for the ghoul specifically, he's not that broken up about the world ending, because for him, the world ended 219 years ago. He went through all stages of depression or whatever they're called, probably. I don't know how hard he took it, probably very hard. Because he was right there. Yeah, I just don't get the critique of people saying that it's too fun. I think I also seen much less, but the critique that the show isn't funny at all. Oh, Pyro said that. Pyro said that the humor didn't land. But I disagree. Well, it's opinion. He didn't like joke as much, but I enjoyed the humor in the show. Anyway.
Depression-fueled nightmare and part hilarious dark comedy. They absolutely nailed this vibe.
You're a coward.
I'm trying not to pause for like a minute.
We all are, Norm. That's why we live in a vault.
You can tell that great care was taken to get the details, the intricate subtleties just right. Sound effects like for radiation are there. There's a lot of things
it's a
hardcore fans
classic
will notice
Geiger
and
counter
appreciate.
sound.
I don't think there was ever a joke in the show that made me roll my eyes, groan, or sigh. No Marvel-esque, uh-oh, he's behind me, isn't he? The humor lands, and it's funny. A lot of the jokes are
I
purely
agree.
visual. There's one part where this character Thaddeus is waiting for pickup at a radio station, and he's talking to the radio operator who's trying to tell him about how nobody appreciates the music he plays. And Thaddeus is just like, oh, yeah, cool. Then it zooms out, and he says,
Great job on these booby traps, by the way. Really good. Hey, thanks.
and it's like, all these people died because they wanted to confront the radio guy over the shitty music he played. The show is also wildly out of pocket at times.
You want to have sex?
Yeah. I'm not answering. I'm just remembering this scene.
Yeah.
Men will get a signal like this and straight up be like, I wonder if she's into me. You'll be blindsided by some crazy shit.
I mean, that was a bit
happens.
different, but
If you
yeah,
don't
it's kind of the
audibly
same
shout,
energy.
What the fuck?
Same
At least
vibe.
once while watching this, then you are a robot who cannot feel emotion. It's time to power off. Lucy is from Vault 33, and most of the vaults have some kind of experiment on the people in them. So each group of vault dwellers is kind of weird and different in their own way. Lucy comes from a vault where everyone is super optimistic, naive, soft, and kind. And so much of the comedy revolves around
Quite a few
contrast
vaults are like
between,
that.
you know, her obnoxious, upbeat attitude and what's really outside of the vault. They do a fantastic job of showing what life and culture is like in this vault. At one point, they hold an election for new overseer, and one of the candidates says,
You ran a great campaign.
I know. Must have put 10 posters up.
What you gotta do when you put a few posters up and let democracy run its course.
Oh my god, I just watched the Helldivers 2 video.
Ella Purnell, the actress for Lucy, said she wanted to approach the role like Ned Flanders in the apocalypse. This is the most accurate description of her character. She's
I
fucking
guess
awesome.
so.
Throughout the show, she almost reflects like the player's experience playing Fallout for the first time. You know, initially you start off naive, like, well, how bad could it be? And by the end, you're like, this place is fucking awful. Lucy's character arc going from naive vault dweller to woman of the wasteland is a really interesting one.
It is.
Now, it wouldn't be Fallout if there wasn't
It's like, it's not just a good arc, it makes sense in the world as well, because pretty much every main character in the games, at least the ones who start in the vault, also go through that.
extreme violence and gore.
When
And to
they
be
leave the
honest,
vault,
the
obviously.
show kind of drops the ball here. It's really tame. We do a little trolling. No, the violence is insane. Exactly like the games. People get their legs blown off. They get dismembered, decapitated. And the effects are amazing. A lot of times I can't tell what, if anything, is CG or green screened. The show is simply
Yeah,
a
honestly, I
spectacle
couldn't tell
to
if it's
watch.
CG,
At
if
one
it's
point in
practical.
episode 2, I was
They
like,
blend very well together.
why are they using so much slow-mo? Then I realized I'm a fucking idiot. They're recreating the iconic cinematic kill cam. It's
Yes,
amazing.
it's VATS. He's fucking using VATS and they managed to show it off.
Mwah. It's so good. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I saw any energy weapons or laser guns in the show. But there's so much from Fallout to tap into, and we gotta have stuff for season 2,
I think there
right?
was...
There's a language to cinema that has not been ignored. The Fallout series
There was a laser rifle in this... like, I don't think any energy weapons were used in the show. It's sort of like additional effects that would have had to do that are, like, not necessary to be in this. Because the show is not... It would have gained maybe a little bit of, like, a few points of showing off some kind of energy weapon, but it's not necessary to do it, and they didn't. It's not losing points because they didn't, in my opinion. But there was a laser rifle, I think, on the wall in the store when Lucy comes in, I think Philly is the name of the city, where the ghoul appears. Before the showdown happens, before the shootout. There's a laser rifle on the wall, and I think there's something else, maybe I seen, like at the scientist's place, which I think is Enclave. Whatever.
series does a lot of showing. Scenes are often carried by the expressions of the actors. They dictate a scene and tell us more than words could. Everyone's acting is fucking phenomenal. You know, brevity
Yeah,
is
the
the
actors
soul
did a
of
great
wit.
job,
They go
I
for a
agree.
less is more approach with dialogue. And this works really well in scenes where Norm is uncovering the dark secrets of the vault and what's really going on. And one of my pet peeves in storytelling is when I notice that I'm being fed exposition. Like when characters talk in a way that feels like they're speaking to the audience, they're just not looking at the camera. Bugs the shit out of me, takes me out of the story. But in the Fallout show, I get so wrapped up in what's happening.
I don't think I noticed that much. Just in general. I do notice it if someone is explaining to someone else something that they already should know, but they're explaining it because the player doesn't know. So the player needs to hear it, even though the character that they're talking or saying it to doesn't need to hear it because they do know. And I think that's one of the Fallout strengths, I guess, is when, like in Fallout 3 and 4, when you like leave the vault, I guess 1, 3, and 4, you leave the vault and you don't know anything about the outside worlds, and any question you ask the characters there, it would make sense that your character would need to hear this because they also, like you, don't know what's going on. In New Vegas and Fallout 2 is kind of MC there is kind of secluded, so it would make sense as well, I think. But in Fallout New Vegas, the traveler, you play as a courier who already traveled the wastelands, and you kind of should know a lot of things, but I feel like you find them out anyway. Maybe it's the head trauma, I don't know. The game was rigged from the start.
happening that I forget when scenes are meant to inform me of something important. This is a sign of well-written, thought-out dialogue that lets the viewer feel like they're uncovering things with the character and not just being told about them, if that makes sense. What makes the show so easily likable is how it pays service to the fans. With numerous references, callbacks.
Yeah.
Every episode had me like, yo, that's
Yes,
the thing from the games that I'm not going to explicitly mention because you should watch the show yourself so you can have that.
I might have spoiled a few things of the show without realizing it, but I don't think someone would watch this video, Ackman's video, and then the reaction to the Ackman's video without watching it. I don't think there's a reason to do that, right? However, I did the same thing. I was like pointing, and it's like, and it's not really a reference. It's just in-world thing, and we, instead of playing the game and seeing it in the game, we see it in the show. So it's not much of a reference, but it's still fun to see like something non-spoilery, like there's a Sunsets in Sporilla, not a slogan, but like stuff written on a bus, I think. Or seeing weapons that you recognize from the game, like the laser rifle. It's fun. Seeing how the wall door opens and stuff like that.
I've been bringing up a lot of things that the Fallout show doesn't do, mistakes it doesn't make, and I think that's equally important to what it does well when making a show like this.
True. Yeah,
because if the fan service is too on the nose, too blatant, you know, it can feel like a, Fallout's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, you like that? You like that shit? And there's never a moment like that. Everything feels natural. It's just the right amount. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched the entire show. I'm going to mention some references.
I tried
Easter
not to
eggs,
mention
and
anything
cameos that
too
I thought were
far
really fucking
in.
cool. So if you want to have those
I don't know if I
shit moments
did
yourself,
anyway.
skip to the timestamp. All right, now that it's just me and you, me and the real
Just
Fallout
don't watch
fans,
reaction.
How about that fucking
video.
Mr. House cameo? That
Yeah.
was awesome. And all those
Took me a
scenes where
second to
Norm is,
realize
like,
who that
you know,
was.
on computer terminals. I was just waiting for the hacking screen to pop up, and when it did, I
Yeah,
don't know
that was
why
fun.
I got so hyped on that. I was like, there's no way Norm's gonna fucking crack this password, and then of course he did. But Norm has
He's
obviously
smart.
specced
He's-
into science.
yeah,
and
he has
intelligence.
science.
You know, little stuff like that just it gets people
He definitely
excited.
like
One of my
lacking
favorite lines of
strength,
dialogue that
but he has
summarizes
perception
Fallout
and
Elder
like
Scrolls better than
intelligence
any
besides,
sentence
maybe
ever
luck.
has.
What about the head?
Agility, small frame, trait.
The wasteland's got its own golden receiver.
Oh, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
Yeah,
It's
side quest
exactly
reference.
like the games. I also thought it was hilarious when Knight Titus is fighting the Yao guy, and he just starts running away like fuck, shit.
He's such a terrible knight.
Because even when you have power armor, that still happens in the games. That moment when Lucy is in Vault 4 and
Yeah,
she
but
holds up the
you're not gonna
NCR
run
flag
away.
as the Fallout theme plays.
Please punch it. Not a single game had a
Fan
double-headed
service
bear,
done
did
right.
it?
Spoilers over. Another way they pay fan service is through the music, ripping some of
Yeah.
the most iconic tracks from the games. They
I
got the
recognize
list
a
of
few
best
songs
bops
there,
from the series
here and
in
there,
here.
I guess.
They have music that was featured in the games, but also entirely new tracks. And
Yeah.
they fit
Well, I mean,
so
you
well
have
within
to.
the scenes that I'm like,
It's a new
did
story,
they
why would
come
you
up with this song for
only
this scene?
reuse?
Because it always seems to match the lyrics with what's happening on screen. It's uncanny. When Maximus and Lucy are walking along some railroads, it plays a version of I've Been Working on the Railroad. There's a ton of examples. Watch the show yourself and see how many you can find. Also,
Music
you might
written for
notice
scenes,
that
why
the
not?
outro for each episode has that slow-moving zoom out that you see at the start
Oh.
of Fallout 3, New Vegas,
I think I've watched
and the
outros.
first game. It's such a nice detail.
Oh.
The show does a really
A different detail is that every episode had a unique... It said Fallout in the beginning, but they had a unique way of showing it. Sometimes it's on fire, sometimes it says bullet holes, stuff like that. And I wonder if that was a late time. Is that what it's... like last addition that they made to the show before they released it after watching One Piece? Because the One Piece TV show, the live action one, had... Every time it showed One Piece in the beginning, it had a different version of it. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it happened. That's just the most recent show and might be the only show I watched like the One Piece one, that had unique title cards like that. Or my memory is shit, which is also
really
true.
great job of exploring the themes of
Maybe I just
Fallout
don't
in new
remember
and
one.
interesting ways. It's a very deep narrative
Some
that
shows
you'll
that
feel
had that.
rewarded for paying attention. There's a lot of foreshadowing that can probably go over your head, and watching it a second time, you'll be like, oh. Now, I haven't played all the games, but I believe that a lot of the pre-war stuff that happened is rarely covered in Fallout or shown. The
Yes.
show does a fantastic job of swapping between
4, I
past
believe,
and
is the only
present
game that
and seeing how
has
things
anything
led
like
to
that.
nuclear war, who was responsible,
I guess
why.
3 has Anchorage DLC, which I think that's a VR simulation in the world, but VR simulation of war, but the war that before the bombs dropped, right, in like 2076 or something like that, something close to 2077 when the bombs did drop, but not the same time, just a bit before, I think, and that might be it.
The way backstory is woven into what's happening in the present is phenomenal. You slowly understand what's happening in the present and how what happened in the past caused the bombs to drop. The
Again,
Fallout show
someone who played Fallout games before and into lore of Fallout, I knew that there will be something with the vaults, and the way they uncovered the mystery behind it, the actual experiment that's going on inside the vault, it was very nicely done. Like, kept me on my my toes, but it kept me guessing, kept me making new guesses every time new information came out, and it didn't just said, something weird's going on, and then the last episode, this is what's weird. It wasn't like that. It's like something weird's going on, and then the investigation started, and then different methods that try to like find out what's happening. It's very, very, very nicely done.
may have some flaws. And
it's the same how you would have
really care about
like
the lore,
in games
may not care for
explore
it,
the
but
vault.
it's extremely faithful to the source
Except
material.
in games,
for me,
it's probably going to be dead.
Everything and more I could have hoped to see from a Fallout show.
Like empty.
At least a Fallout show that runs for 8 hours. Can't fit everything into a single season. And can I just say, the ending, the final shot. Woo! For me, the show does.
Should have
so
talked
much
about this
right
in the
that what it
spoiler
does
territory,
wrong
man.
Can easily be overlooked in my eyes. Swept out of my brain. When the audience knows and can feel the passion you have for the source material, and you clearly respect it, you can get away with some mistakes. This is a show that I could recommend to pretty much everyone. Fans of Fallout, gaming fans who have never played Fallout, or people that don't even play video games. Take notes, other video game adaptations. This is how you tap into the elusive, broader audience. By
Yes.
staying true to what made the source material.
Yeah, you need to pleasure. You need to satisfy. That sounds at least a little bit better. The audience that you're basing your show or whatever off of. So you need to satisfy the gamers if you're making a game adaptation. And if you do that, your show will reach people who played the game, and just by proxy will reach other people, and you reach broader audience just by existing. No marketing needed, because if someone watches the show, they probably have someone else, like a friend or something, who never played the games, and then maybe that's how they get them into the games, or just that's how they get them to get interested in the lore or something like that, and just talk about that. Just by the word of mouth, and especially nowadays with the internet, someone can just ask people to watch the show, and just not just ask people, but ask like thousands of people to watch the show. And that's it. Anyway.
Appeal to a broader audience in the first place. I cannot wait for the next season. I am looking forward to it.
Same, but I'm a
been
bit
installing a bunch of mods to go
scared.
replay New Vegas again. There's a lot of potential with the Fallout show. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Who was your favorite character? What was your favorite scene? Leave a like if you enjoyed this
Lucy
video.
was my
Subscribe
favorite
to the
character.
Axe Man for more awesome content.
I enjoyed her.
Also, come join the Axe Clan and engage in
Path.
some tomfoolery.
Evolution.
All right, everyone, that's all I got for
I'll watch
today.
this one as well
This is the
later.
Act Man signing out. Peace.
All right. Yeah. If you already got yourself spoiled enough by watching this for some reason you decided to watch this, leave now. I want us to talk about season 2. And I hope everyone left who doesn't want to get more spoiled, but the last shot that the Ackman was talking about is the shot of New Vegas, which means that season 2 will take place in Nevada and probably, most likely, much closer to New Vegas than like the game did, because the game had quite a big chunk of land. I'm guessing they're not gonna go that far. Or maybe the entire season 2 would be them traveling from like LA and the territory close to LA, whatever they ended up at the end of season 1. Maybe there will be traveling and it'll show their like traveling adventures or something like that. And maybe that will be a start for a story, Fallout story that's multi state. Because every Fallout, every Fallout game takes place in one state or less. For example, Fallout 1 and 2 both take part in Northern California, not even the entirety of it. No, actually, probably every game takes only a piece of land because they're not gonna make the entire state. But yeah, like Fallout 3 takes place in Washington, and then Fallout 4 is like around Boston, whatever state that is. Don't remember. I actually don't remember. 76, maybe 76 is multi-state because it's Appalachian Mountains, and it is like the biggest Fallout game there is, and keeps getting bigger because of like updates and DLCs and whatnot. So I don't know. Actually, yeah, that's probably true. I think Appalachian Mountains are also it's not just mountain in a state, it's like a lot of them. That span a few states. I don't know. Few states lines, go through a few states lines probably. Whatever. But what I wanted to say is that I'm afraid of season 2 because the season 1 took place. I can't remember exact amount of years, but it's a few years after New Vegas. Like whatever happened in New Vegas in the game already happened time-wise. And if they're saying that it's canon, the show is canon, they will have to take one of the endings from New Vegas and run with it. And that would be interesting. Because if they take the NCR ending, they will have to go about Shady Sands being destroyed. If they take the Caesar's ending, it doesn't seem like there was any Caesar mention, like Legion, not Caesar, Legion ending. There wasn't any mention about like Legion activity or anything in season 1, which would be weird because it's been a few years. I feel like after taking over Nevada, they would take over close states to it, like California. This makes sense. I don't know. It could be like a Mr. House ending or Yes Man ending, and it's just that Courier, Mr. House didn't want to go far beyond his reach. He just took Nevada for himself and stayed there. And probably that's the ending they're gonna go for, I'm guessing, because young Mr. House was shown, and they're probably gonna use the connections that Lucy's dad has with him and like build off that, because they knew each other in the past, pre-war, so it would make sense. If Lucy's dad comes to New Vegas, and it's nothing has to do with House, it would be bizarre for him. I feel like it will be. I guess maybe he doesn't even know. He was. Maybe he even made contact from his vault with Mr. House in case something happens. He asks him to take him in for or whatnot. Maybe even years ago he did that, but he gonna come and see that House is dead. I don't know. It's a lot of speculation, but I'm a bit scared of the route they want to take. Maybe they'll make an entire season where it's 2 episodes per ending of New Vegas. It's just different paths, and 2 episodes on solving the entirety of what needs to be solved, like in each and every one. I don't know. It is bizarre. But I am excited for it, but I am a bit scared. However, thank you everybody for watching this. I appreciate it a lot, and I hope to see you next time, and goodbye. Have a great life, because one of us has to.